What if I told you the world's first billionaire rock star still starts his day with a 5-minute headstand at 82 years old? Paul McCartney isn't just a music icon, he's a movement. From a humble boy in Liverpool to topping Forbes with over $1 billion in 2025, his journey breaks every rule about age, success, and reinvention. He shaped modern music, built a global business empire, and raised a family while staying fiercely grounded. But what happened after the Beatles? And how is he still creating history today? Let's dive into the untold story of Paul McCartney's unstoppable life. 1. Inside Paul McCartney's daily routine. What does a typical day look like for an 82-year-old billionaire music legend? If you're picturing a slow-paced, easy-going retirement, Paul McCartney will prove you wrong before breakfast. His day starts early, not with coffee or luxury rituals, but with movement, and one move in particular will surprise you. McCartney begins every morning with a 5-minute headstand. Yes, at 82 he flips upside down unsupported. His daughter Mary once called it faultless. This isn't for show, it's a core part of his wellness ritual. After that, he moves through a series of low-impact exercises, stretching, elliptical, yoga, and light strength training, all self-guided. No personal trainer, no camera crew, just pure discipline. But what fuels this kind of consistency? It's a mindset. Paul's always seen health as a form of independence. By designing his own workout, he maintains control over body, over mind, and over time. That kind of self-leadership is rare, especially among celebrities with access to everything. But Paul, he keeps it simple and grounded. His mornings are quiet but structured, filled with intention. If he's on tour, the routine adjusts. He skips food before performing, saving his appetite for a post-show favorite, a margarita and a cheese and pickle sandwich. That's right. Billionaire rock legend with a soft spot for comfort food. After shows, his evenings are slower. At home with his wife Nancy, they cook, watch TV, or read. He prefers biography books. It's the kind of peaceful domestic rhythm you'd expect from someone who values presence more than spotlight. But here's the part they don't tell you: McCartney's routine isn't about youth, vanity, or trend. It's about legacy, staying sharp for the music, staying strong for his family, and staying grounded in a world that rarely is. 2. Health habits that keep him youthful. At 82, Paul McCartney is still performing on global tours, creating music, and outlasting artists half his age. So what's his secret? The answer lies not in expensive treatments or extreme regimens, but in sustainable, intentional health habits practiced every single day. McCartney has been a committed vegetarian since the 1970s, a decision heavily influenced by his late wife Linda. He credits it as probably the best decision I made for my health. His diet is filled with whole grains, legumes, fresh vegetables, and plant-based proteins. No meat, no processed junk, just clean, conscious eating. But that's just the beginning. Paul doesn't rely on a personal trainer. He created his own fitness routine that balances cardiovascular work, weight training, stretching, and yoga. Each session is compact, just 5 to 10 minutes per exercise, efficient, focused, and doable anywhere in the world. One of the most unexpected elements of his health regimen, eye yoga, a technique he picked up from an Indian yogi 20 years ago. It involves moving the eyes in various directions to enhance vision and mental clarity. Strange maybe, but Paul swears by it. And given his performance stamina, maybe it's time we took eye yoga seriously. He also practices transcendental meditation, something he learned in 1968 from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. For McCartney, meditation isn't spiritual fluff. It's a necessity. In moments of madness, meditation has helped me find moments of serenity. He shared, "It's how he clears the noise, resets his focus, and accesses deeper creative flow. The results speak for themselves. McCartney's energy is undeniable. His memory is sharp. His body still agile enough to perform for hours in front of sold-out crowds. He's not just aging gracefully, he's redefining what's possible with age." So, while health trends come and go, Paul McCartney proves that the fundamentals good food, movement, mindfulness are timeless. 3. How he spends time with family. Behind the stage lights and stadium shows, Paul McCartney is just Grandude, a nickname affectionately given to him by his grandchildren. And while the world knows him as a rock legend, his family knows him as a father, husband, and grandfather who always shows up. In 2025, Paul is the father of 5 children and the grandfather to 8 chillers, as he likes to call them. His kids, Mary, Stella, James, Heather, and Beatrice range in age from early 20s to early 60s, and each has carved their own path. From photography to music to fashion, the McCartney family is a creative powerhouse. But despite their busy lives, they remain tightly bonded. Paul's role in their lives? It's evolved. As far as being a dad is concerned, I've always just tried to give my kids a bit of guidance if they seem to need it. He said, "Now that they are older, they're guiding me." Even as his children have become successful in their own right, Paul remains deeply involved. Whether it's casual dinners, family vacations, or simply being present at key moments, he prioritizes those connections. He's often seen sharing meals at home with Nancy, laughing over TV shows, or reading while she finishes a series simple, relatable habits that define the rhythm of his evenings. And it's not just the kids. His relationship with Nancy Shevell, his wife since 2011, is a pillar of stability. She's a successful businesswoman who avoids the spotlight, but her quiet strength keeps Paul grounded. When they're not traveling together, they're at home cooking, relaxing, and just enjoying each other's company. What's powerful here isn't just the image of a happy family, it's the effort behind it. In a world where fame often tears families apart, Paul McCartney has built something rare, a lasting, loving, supportive tribe. And at the center of it is a man who's always valued love over legacy. 4. Homes, cars, and a private jet. Paul McCartney's life may be grounded in simplicity, but his lifestyle, it's undeniably luxurious. And after decades of groundbreaking success, he's earned every bit of it. His primary residence in London is a historic mansion on Cavendish Avenue, purchased in 1965 for just $40,000. Today, it's worth over $16.5 million. This is the home where he hosted his wedding reception with Nancy in 2011, and it remains his creative and emotional anchor. Then there's Blossomwood Farm, his 160-acre retreat in East Sussex. Bought in 1973, the farm grows crops like wheat, rye, and peas, and offers total isolation. During the pandemic, this is where Paul lived and created. It's also home to a special fir tree planted by George Harrison before he passed. Across the Atlantic, McCartney owns a $4 million Beverly Hills estate that once belonged to Courtney Love and Ellen DeGeneres. 4 bedrooms, nearly 2 acres, and total privacy. That's not all. There's also a 151-acre ranch in Arizona and High Park Farm in Scotland. Each home reflects a different facet of McCartney's identity: artist, father, husband, nature lover. And how does he travel between these stunning properties? With style? Paul owns a Gulfstream Seal private jet, a twin-engine aircraft that ensures comfort and control on the road. No airport crowds, no delays, just seamless, globe-trotting mobility that keeps up with his relentless creative pace. Now let's talk cars. His collection includes a rare 1964 Aston Martin DB5, a 1967 Lamborghini 400 GT, a Lexus LS 600h hybrid gifted for his 65th birthday, and even the Mini Cooper S DeVille featured in the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour. Together, his cars are worth over $2 million. But here's what's fascinating: despite all this wealth, Paul doesn't flaunt it. His lifestyle, though undeniably elite, is driven by function and legacy, not status. 5. McCartney's green activism and giving. Paul McCartney doesn't just sing about a better world, he invests in it. From the environment to education, his impact goes far beyond music charts. In 2025, he remains one of the most visible and committed celebrity activists on the planet. Let's start with Meat Free Monday, an initiative he co-founded with daughters Stella and Mary. It encourages people to cut out meat one day a week to help fight climate change. If enough people do it, it will make a difference, he said. And he means it. Paul lives this message every day with his decades-long vegetarian lifestyle and outspoken advocacy. But he goes deeper than campaigns. In his song, Despite Repeated Warnings, he warns of climate collapse using allegory-crazed captains ignoring icebergs. His music doesn't just entertain, it educates. He's also backed major environmental efforts, urging world leaders to adopt the plant-based treaty alongside the Paris Agreement. His actions at summits like COP26 show that he's not just lending his name, he's fighting for real change. Beyond climate work, Paul supports over 45 charities. From Greenpeace to the David Lynch Foundation for Meditation in Schools, to the Teenage Cancer Trust, he's donated millions and performed at benefit shows that changed lives. His activism spans animal rights, education, poverty, and mental health. This is a man who could retire into quiet luxury. Instead, he's using his fame to serve future generations. That kind of purpose. It's rare, it's powerful, and it's deeply inspiring. So, when people ask what Paul McCartney is still doing at 82, the answer is simple: he's still changing the world. 6. Humble beginnings in Liverpool. What if one of the richest musicians on earth started out in a modest terraced house in post-war Liverpool? Because that's exactly how Paul McCartney's story began, and it's more grounded than you might imagine. Born on June 18, 1942 in Liverpool General Hospital, Paul grew up in a working-class family shaped by music, loss, and resilience. His father, James Jim McCartney, was a cotton salesman and jazz pianist who led Jim Mack's jazz band. Evenings were often spent huddled around the piano, with family sing-alongs forming the soundtrack to Paul's early life. His mother, Mary Patricia McCartney, was a nurse and midwife who kept the family grounded in discipline and care. But in 1956, when Paul was just 14, tragedy struck: the death of his mother from breast cancer. That devastating loss would echo through his music for years, most notably in the moving ballad Let It Be. Yet even through the hardship, his academic promise shone early. He was one of just 4 students to pass the 11+ exam, earning a spot at the prestigious Liverpool Institute for Boys. It was here, during the 1950s, that Paul's creativity began to take shape, writing poems, sketching ideas, and soaking in a world that was about to change forever. In 1955, the McCartney family moved into 20 Forthlin Road in Allerton. This modest council house would soon become the birthplace of modern music. It's where Paul and John Lennon would sit with their guitars, turning teenage emotions into iconic melodies. Paul even wrote the melody for When I'm 64 on the family piano at just 14. But it wasn't just a house, it was a launch pad. And what happened next would change music forever. 7. The early loss that shaped him. Some of the world's most profound creativity is born from pain, and Paul McCartney's life is no exception. The sudden loss of his mother, Mary, when when he was just 14, left a permanent scar on his emotional landscape. For a teenage boy navigating life in post-war England, her absence was more than just a void, it was a turning point. Music became his outlet. That raw pain quietly wove itself into lyrics and melodies that would resonate across generations. Songs like Let It Be, where he sings about Mother Mary coming to him in times of trouble, were rooted in this deeply personal grief. But Paul never let it define him. Instead, he transformed sorrow into song, proving that even heartbreak can be the seed of greatness. This emotional depth became one of the core distinctions between McCartney and many of his contemporaries. His melodies often feel effortless, but underneath them is a man who has walked through loss and come out with more empathy, not less. And then, fate intervened. In 1957, he met 16-year-old John Lennon at the Woolton Village Fete. Paul impressed him by playing 20 Flight Rock on guitar from memory, a moment Lennon would later say convinced him that Paul had something special. He joined Lennon's band, the Quarrymen. It was the beginning of one of the most iconic creative partnerships in history. But at the time, it was just two kids chasing sound. 8. Marriage, children, and private life. Behind the fame, behind the records. Paul McCartney has always craved something remarkably simple, family. His personal life has been full of love, heartbreak, healing, and ultimately, balance. And it all started with Linda. He met Linda Eastman in 1967, an American photographer with a fierce independence and an eye for truth. They married in 1969, and what followed was not just a romance, but a creative alliance. Linda became a key member of Wings, played keyboard on stage, and stood by Paul through the chaos of post-Beatles fame. Together, they raised 4 children, Mary, Stella, James, and Heather, whom Paul adopted from Linda's previous marriage. Their bond was extraordinary. When Linda passed away in 1998 after a battle with breast cancer, Paul was shattered. I cried for a year. He confessed in interviews. But even in grief, he kept going for his kids, for the music, for Linda's legacy. Years later, he found love again with Nancy Shevell, a successful businesswoman from New York. The two married in 2011 in a quiet ceremony in London. Nancy, with her low profile and calm strength, has been a grounding presence in Paul's later years. Their routine is peaceful cooking, chatting, watching TV together, ordinary moments that give Paul the space to be more than just a legend. Today, McCartney is the proud patriarch of a sprawling family that includes 5 children and 8 grandchildren. They call him Grandude. And for them, he's not the face on a record. He's just Dad, or Grandude. And that's how he likes it. But how does a family man become the richest musician in British history? The answer lies in what came next, the explosion that was the Beatles. 9. The Beatles, from garage to glory. What happens when 4 working-class lads from Liverpool pick up instruments and rewrite music history? You get the Beatles, but what people forget is how uncertain it all was in the beginning. Paul met John in 1957, George joined in 1958, and Ringo Starr completed the lineup in 1962. Before that, they were just another local band grinding through dive bars and all-night sets in Hamburg. Those grueling performances gave them polish and edge. The big break came when manager Brian Epstein saw them perform at the Cavern Club. He secured a deal with EMI's Parlophone under producer George Martin, and on October 5th, 1962, they released Love Me Do. It only reached number 17 in the UK, but it lit the fuse. Then came Beatlemania. By 1964, the Beatles had taken over America. Their performance on The Ed Sullivan Show drew 73 million viewers. From She Loves You to Hey Jude, from mop-top teen idols to experimental studio pioneers, the Beatles didn't just follow trends, they invented them. During their run, They released 12 albums, sold over 600 million records, and racked up 20 number-one hits in the US. Their 1967 masterpiece, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, is widely considered one of the greatest albums of all time. And Paul, he wrote or co-wrote 32 songs that reached number one on the Billboard Hot 100. But the ride wasn't forever. 10. Wings era reinvention. After the Beatles. When the Beatles disbanded in 1970, many wondered if any of them could thrive solo. Paul McCartney didn't just survive, he soared. His first solo album, McCartney, recorded in his home studio with him playing all instruments, was raw and deeply personal. It hit number one in the US. Then came Ram, a collaboration with Linda, and soon after Wings. Wings was McCartney's rebirth, with hits like Band on the Run, Jet, Silly Love Songs, and the James Bond theme, Live and Let Die. Wings became one of the top-selling bands of the 1970s. Over a decade, they released 23 top 40 singles in the US and 5 consecutive number one albums. What's incredible is how Paul made it work. While critics were harsh early on, the public spoke louder. Wings tours were sellout events. By the time the band ended in 1981, McCartney had firmly cemented his post-Beatles legacy. But he wasn't done reinventing himself. 11. Billionaire moves in music publishing. Here's what they don't teach in music school: owning your work is everything. Paul McCartney learned this the hard way after the Beatles' catalog was sold out from under them. But he didn't sit back. He learned, pivoted, and built a financial empire that made him the first British musician to become a billionaire. According to Forbes 2025, his secret publishing. Through MPL Communications, McCartney owns over 25,000 copyrights, including works from Buddy Holly, Carl Perkins, and classics like Grease and Annie. These assets generate tens of millions annually, even in non-touring years. His song Yesterday alone has been covered over 2,200 times, making it one of the most covered songs in history. And when Beyoncé recorded his song Blackbird for her Grammy-winning Cowboy Carter album, it brought in a fresh wave of royalties and a whole new generation of listeners. McCartney has also invested in startups, plant-based food companies, and music tech firms. His wealth doesn't come from one stream. It flows from songwriting, touring, licensing, investments, and brand value built over 6 decades. In a single year, he can earn $50 to $70 million from touring alone. Add to that decades of smart decisions, and you start to see the big picture. But even with all the money, Paul's real currency is influence. His career is still evolving, and 2025 proves it. 12. His boldest creative plans for 2025. If you thought Paul McCartney might slow down after turning 80, think again. In 2025, he's more active and more creative than ever. His New Year's resolution? Finish an album that's been on the back burner since his Got Back tour. That album, produced by Andrew Watt, promises to blend classic McCartney melodies with fresh, modern energy. Watt, known for working with legends like Elton John and Ozzy Osbourne, brings a revitalized edge to Paul's signature sound. In February 2025, McCartney shocked fans with 3 surprise concerts at New York's Bowery Ballroom. Tickets sold out in under 30 minutes. The mini-shows were followed by a show-stopping performance at Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary, where he closed the event with a medley of Beatles classics. But it's not just music. Paul's releasing a new book, Wings: The Story of a Band on the Run, set for November 2025. It's a 528-page dive into the Wings era, packed with over 100 unseen photos and stories from a band that defined the post-Beatles 1970s. Rumors of a fall 2025 U.S. tour are also swirling, sparked by leaked NFL venue schedules. If true, it would mark yet another chapter in a career that refuses to fade. So, if Paul McCartney can keep evolving at 82, what's stopping us from starting something big? Today, smash that like button if you feel inspired. Subscribe to Cudolorio for more stories that blend fame, fortune, and timeless impact. And tell us whose legendary life should we explore next.